Listen to me, there comes a time in your life when you've got to stop waiting for it to happen and start making it happen. You say you want it, then you've got to go get it. You've got to believe, I can do this. I will do this. I must do this. This ain't about talent. This ain't about luck. This is about heart. This is about discipline. This is about how bad do you really want it? Are you willing to stay up late, wake up early, grind when nobody's watching, sacrifice what's good for what's great? Pain is temporary, but quitting is forever. You've been running from the pain, running from the struggle, but let me tell you something. Every champion was once a contender that refused to give up. You've got to look in the mirror and tell yourself, I can, I will, I must, not just say it, live it. So when life hits you, when you fail that exam, when you lose that job, when your dreams seem too far, don't fold. Don't quit. Get up, fight, crawl if you have to, but keep moving forward. Because destiny is waiting, success is waiting, and only thing standing between you and it is you.
Believing in yourself is the foundation of everything. Before the action, before the plan, before the grind, there has to be belief. You have to know deep down that you can do it, that you're capable, that even if the world says you're not good enough, even if people around you doubt you, you still have the power inside you to rise above all of it. Belief is not just some motivational buzzword. It's the engine that drives everything else. It's the internal fire that keeps you going. You have nothing else left. When you say, I can't, you're not just saying words. You're making a declaration to yourself and to the world that no matter how hard it gets, you believe there's something in you greater than the obstacle in front of you. Too many people live their lives waiting for someone else to give them permission to believe. Waiting for a coach, a teacher, a friend, a parent to tell them they've got what it takes. But what if no one ever tells you? What if the affirmation never comes? Do you just stop? Do you just accept the doubt as truth? No, you dig deep and you create your own belief. You look yourself in the mirror and you tell yourself, I can. Even when you don't feel like it, even when your circumstances are telling you otherwise. Because belief isn't based on the outside world. It's built from the inside out. It's built in silence when no one's cheering for you. It's built in the dark when you're all alone with your fears. And it's in those moments when you choose to believe in yourself anyway, that greatness begins. Belief is the thing that turns average into extraordinary. It's the switch that changes a kid from a broken neighborhood into a world-class athlete. It's what transforms a person who failed over and over again into someone who finally wins. Finally wins. Why? Because belief changes behavior. When you believe you can do something, you act like it. You prepare differently. You train harder. You take risks. You stay focused. But when you don't believe, even your best efforts are half-hearted. You play it safe. You procrastinate. You second-guess every move. That's why belief matters. Because it changes how you show up. But let's be real. Belief isn't easy. Especially when you failed before. Especially when you've been laughed at, rejected, doubted. That stuff leaves scars. It makes you question everything. But you have to understand, failure doesn't mean you can't. It just means you haven't yet. Everyone who ever accomplished something big had moments where they were unsure, where they stumbled, but they kept going because the belief in themselves was stronger than the fear of failing again. You've got to protect your belief. You can't let just anyone speak into your life. Some people will project their own fears onto you. They'll tell you it's not possible, not because you can't do it, but because they could. That's not your problem. That's not your problem. That's not your truth. You've got to be careful who you listen to. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who lift you up, who remind you of your potential when you forget. But even if you have no one in your corner, you still have to believe. Because belief starts with you. It starts with what you speak over your life every single day. That's why affirmations matter. That's why self-talk matters. Because the most important voice you'll ever hear is your own. Saying I can is not about arrogance. It's not about pretending you're perfect or invincible. It's about recognizing that you're capable of growth, capable of learning, capable of fighting through adversity and coming out stronger. It's about choosing courage over comfort. Because if you're waiting to feel 100% confident before you start, you'll never move. Belief doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you do it anyway, because your purpose is greater than your fear. There will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when the mountain in front of you seems too big. Days when you wonder why you even started. But in those moments, you have to go back to the basics. Go back to belief. Remind yourself, I can do this. Not because everything is perfect, but because you got the heart for it. Because you're willing to keep swinging even when the odds are stacked against you. You may not see the full picture yet, but if you keep believing, step by step, you'll get there. You weren't put on this earth to be average. There's greatness inside you, but you'll never tap into it if you don't first believe it's there. You've got dreams, goals, visions for your life, and none of them will happen unless you believe you can make them real. It doesn't matter where you started. It doesn't matter what your background is, how much money you have, what school you went to, or what people think about you. What matters is that you know you can rise, you can change, you can overcome. That belief will be tested. Life will try to shake it. But if you protect it, nurture it, speak it, live it, there's nothing you can't do. Say it with your chest, I can, and mean it. Let that belief be the foundation. Let it fuel your hustle. Let it light the fire on days when you want to quit. Because once you truly believe in yourself, the game changes. The world starts to open up. And suddenly what once seemed impossible becomes just the next challenge. You're about to conquer. Believe that. You have to decide that quitting is not an option. That's what separates the ones who make it from the ones who don't. The ones who win at life, who reach their goals, who live out their dreams, they aren't always the most talented, the most skilled, or the most gifted. They're the ones who made a decision. I will. They've got a mindset that says, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, I will keep going. That kind of determination is powerful. It's the kind that moves mountains, that breaks through walls, that pushes through pain, rejection, and failure. Because the truth is, life is going to test you. It's going to push you. It's going to try to break you. And if you don't have a solid operative will in your spirit, you'll give up the moment things get tough. Our will is not just a statement, it's a promise. It's a contract you sign with yourself that says, I won't quit. I won't back down. I won't give up until I see it through. It means you're committed, fully committed to the process, not just the outcome. Too many people only commit to the goal when it's easy, when it's fun, when everything is going their way. But the moment adversity shows up, they check out. That's not commitment, that's convenience. Real commitment says, even when it's hard, even when I'm tired, even when I fail, I will keep showing up. And that's the difference between dreams that stay dreams and dreams that become reality. The I will attitude. Because obstacles are guaranteed, but the outcome, that's earned. And it's earned by people who refuse to fold under pressure. People who say, I will keep going even if I have to crawl. It's about mental toughness. It's about grit. It's about getting up one more time than you fall. It's about choosing perseverance over pity. Let me tell you something. Your goals don't care about your excuses. Your future doesn't care about your comfort zone. The dream you had, whether it's to start a business, become an artist, get that degree, change your life, change your family's life, it's going to demand sacrifice. It's going to demand sweat. It's going to demand that you push past your limits. And the only way you're going to do that is with an I will mentality. That's what keeps you in the game when everything in you wants to quit. You see, when you say I will, you're taking control. You're saying, and no matter what's happening around me, I'm not letting that stop me. You're not leaving your destiny in the hands of luck or chance or other people. You're taking ownership. You're declaring ownership. You're declaring this is mine and I'm going to get it. That kind of mindset is rare. But it's also magnetic. It draws opportunities. It draws solutions. It draws strength from places you didn't even know existed. When the storms come, and they will, you need something deeper than motivation. Because motivation fades. It comes and goes. But willpower, that's rooted in purpose. That's rooted in discipline. It's the kind of power that says, even when I don't feel like it, I will keep moving forward. That's what changes the game. That's what turns average into unstoppable. Think about the people you admire, the ones who inspire you. Every single one of them had a moment when they could have quit, a moment when no one would have blamed them if they gave up. But they did. Why? Because they had a fire inside. They had an eye where it burned brighter than their doubt, their fear, their fatigue. They decided that losing was not an option. That regret was not something they were willing to live with. And because of that decision, they became who they were meant to be. That's available to you too. It's not about being lucky. It's about being relentless. It's about waking up every day and deciding to give it everything you got, no matter how slow the progress, no matter how long the journey. Our will is about daily choices. Choosing to be disciplined, choosing to keep your word, choosing to take the step even when you're scared. It's about showing up day after day without seeing results right away. That's faith. That's endurance. And that's what makes the breakthrough happen. Let me be real with you. There will be days you feel like you're not good enough. Days when the voices in your head say, what's the point? But you don't listen to those voices. You listen to the voice that says, you will rise. You keep your focus. You remind yourself of why you started. You remember who you're doing this for. Maybe it's for your family. Maybe it's to prove something to yourself. Maybe it's because you know you were meant for more. Whatever your reason is, hold on to it. Let that reason fuel your I will. You got to develop an unshakable will. A will that says, even if I don't feel ready, I'm going to take action. Even if the door is closed, I'm going to find another way in. That's what I will sounds like. It's not passive. It's powerful. It's not waiting. It's working. Every setback is a setup for a comeback if your mindset is right. If you keep showing up. If you refuse to quit. So say it loud. Say it proud. I will. I will fight. I will grow. I will succeed. I will not stop until I've given everything I have. That's how legends are made. That's how dreams become reality. Not by talking, not by wishing, but by doing, by committing, by deciding once and for all by will. You have to develop a mindset that leaves no room for excuses. I must is not just a phrase, it's a lifestyle. It's the declaration that says, if this isn't a maybe, this isn't a someday, this is a must. When you live with I must in your spirit, you stop entertaining distractions. You stop procrastinating. You stop settling. Because now it's not just about what you want. It's about what you need to do. It's not optional anymore. It's not up for debate. You burned the boats. You made the commitment. You've drawn the line and you said, I'm not going back. I'm not quitting. I must do this. This kind of mindset transforms everything. When something becomes a must in your life, you find a way. You stop making excuses and you start making progress. You stop waiting for the right time, the right move, the right resources. You make do with what you have and you make it work. That's the power of I must. It doesn't let you quit. It doesn't let you slack off. It demands more from you. And even when your body wants to stop, even when your mind says you're tired, your spirit says, I must keep going. Why do people fail No, it's not always because they lack talent or intelligence. It's because their dreams are still in the category of maybe. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll start. Maybe I'll change. But maybe it won't get you anywhere. Maybe it's the enemy of progress. When you live in the world of a maybe, you give yourself an out. You give yourself room to delay, to hesitate, to back off. But when you shift to a must, the game changes. Now, you got no exit strategy. You got no excuses. All you've got is the path forward and your commitment to walk it. No matter what, you have to get to a point in life where success is the only option, where becoming your best self is not just a wish, it's a requirement. Think about it like this. If someone you love was depending on you, if their future was tied to your effort, your discipline, your grind, you wouldn't let them down. You wouldn't let them down. You find a way. You sacrifice sleep. You push through pain. You go more to make sure they were taken care of. So why don't we fight for ourselves the same way? Why don't we treat our own dreams like someone's life depends on them? Because they do. Your life, your legacy, your impact. Changes your posture. It puts pressure on your potential. It holds you accountable when no one else is watching. That's what separates champions from the crowd. Everyone wants success, but few people demand it from themselves. They wait for permission. They wait for conditions to be perfect. But you don't have that luxury. If you want it, you have to go get it. And that starts with deciding, I must do this. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about perfection. You will stumble. You will mess up. But when you have an I must mindset, you don't let failure stop you. You let it teach you. You learn, you adjust, and you keep moving. You don't have time to wallow in pity or drown in doubt. You got something to do, something important, something urgent. That dream, that vision, it's calling you. And the only way you'll ever reach it is if you take it seriously, not casually, not when it's convenient, not when it's convenient, but every single day like it's your responsibility, because it is. Some of you are sitting on ideas, gifts, talents that the world needs, but you haven't made them a must yet. You're still letting fear lead the way. You're still doubting your worth, your potential. But listen, you don't need to be perfect to start. You just need to make a decision. That decision says, I'm not going to keep living below my potential. I'm not going to keep letting fear dictate my steps. I must rise. I must act. I must become who I was created to be. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to the people who are watching you, whether you know it or not. Your kids, your friends, your community, they're watching how you live, how you fight, how you show up. And whether you realize it or not, your story is giving them permission to fight for their own lives too. But if you quit, if you stay stuck, if you let the fire go out, they will too. You have a responsibility, not just to dream, but to deliver. So how do you live anymore? Must? You get up every day with purpose. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop accepting excuses from yourself. You stop giving your energy to things that don't move you forward. You make a plan. You create structure. You build habits. You build discipline. And when motivation runs out, and when it should carry you, you let your must take over. You say no to comfort, and you say no to comfort and yes to growth. You say no to fear. You say no to distraction and yes to discipline. Every choice matters. Every day is a deposit. Every hour is a vote for the life you want to live. And when you start thinking like that, there's no limit to what you can do. Remember, the people who make it in life don't always have more talent. They just have more drive, more hunger, more urgency. They've got that look in their eye that says, I'm not stopping, I'm not slowing down. I must do this. And once you get that fire in your bone, nothing can stop you. No setback, no setback, no failure, no criticism. You become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. So take a breath, look at where you are, then make a decision. Not tomorrow, later, say it to yourself. And when you live with purpose, every step you take becomes a step toward power, toward peace, toward greatness. Pain is a part of the process. No one achieves greatness without going through something. The truth is, pain is not your enemy. It's your trainer. It's the thing that shapes you, molds you, prepares you for the next level. Most people want the success, but they want to skip the struggle. They want the glory, but not the grind. But if you run from pain, you also run from growth. Pain is the price of admission to the life you say you want. You don't become mentally tough by reading books or listening to podcasts alone. You become mentally tough when life hits you in the mouth. And instead of folding, you fight back. You become mentally tough when your plans fall apart and you still show up. You become mentally tough when you feel like quitting, but you keep pushing. Every tear, every setback, every disappointment, it all has a purpose. It's there to teach you, to strengthen you, and to prepare you for the moment when everything finally comes together. Think about the people you admire the most. The legends, the icons, the leaders. They didn't just wake up one day successful. They went through things. They were tested. They had to learn how to persevere. They had to become the kind of people who could handle the success they were chasing. Because if you can't handle the process, you'll never survive the promise. You'll never survive the promise. The greater the calling, the greater the suffering. But that's not something to be afraid of. That's something to embrace. That's how you know you're on the right path. Pain introduces you to the real you. When things are easy to act confident, to talk big, to say you're committed. But when you're tired, when you're alone, when you're broke, when nothing seems to be working, that's when your true character shows up. And it's in those moments that you have a choice. You can quit or you can grow. You can run. You can rise. And if you keep choosing growth, one painful moment at a time, eventually you become unbreakable. There's something powerful that happens when you stop fearing pain and start using it. When you take every loss and say, I'm not gonna let this destroy me, I'm gonna let it develop me. That's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who move forward. The ones who grow look at pain and say, this is fuel. They don't just go through pain, they grow through pain. And that's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary ones. Life doesn't owe you ease. It doesn't promise you comfort, but it does give you the opportunity to respond. Every obstacle you face is an invitation to level up. Every painful experience is a chance to learn, to adapt, to become better, but only if you're willing to stop complaining and start confronting. Stop running and start rising. Stop asking a why me and start saying a try me. Because when you survive pain, when you conquer it, you become dangerous. You become the kind of person that storms don't scare. You become the kind of person who doesn't flinch when life gets hard. And the world can't help but take notice. That kind of strength, that kind of resilience, it shines, it's undeniable, it inspires, it commands respect, and it opens doors that comfort never could. Understand this pain is not there to break you. It's there to build you. It's there to build you. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Muscles grow when they're torn and rebuilt. Trees grow their deepest roots during the toughest storms. You don't get strength without strain. So when you feel the pain, whether it's rejection, failure, fatigue, or heartbreak, don't curse it. Don't run from it. Let it refine you. Let it push you. Let it teach you how much stronger you are than you ever imagined. And here's the truth. The pain won't last forever, but the strength you gain from going through it will. That's permanent, that's yours to keep. Long after the tears dry, long after the wound heal, what remains is a version of you that's wiser, tougher, and more equipped to win. So don't just aim to survive pain, aim to use it. Turn your scars into strategies. Let your past build a foundation for your future. There will be times when quitting feels like the easiest option, but easy doesn't change lives. Easy doesn't make history. Easy doesn't make history. Easy doesn't fulfill dreams. If you want something different, you have to do something different. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to welcome the struggle, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you know what it's doing to you. It's stretching you, it's elevating you, it's elevating you. It's making you someone capable of walking into the life you've been dreaming about. You can't skip the process and expect to keep the prize. It doesn't work like that. You earn it in the dark. You earn it when no one's clapping, when no one sees your pain, when it's just you and the challenge. That's where champions are made. That's where leaders are born. That's where legacies begin. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where pain does its work. So if you're going through something hard right now, if you're in a season of pain, of struggle, of uncertainty, don't lose hope. Don't tap out. Don't turn away. This season is sacred. It's doing something in you that nothing else could. It's preparing you. Trust the process. Trust your strength. And remind yourself daily, this pain has a purpose and I'm not going to waste it. You may not see the payoff yet. You may not understand why you're being tested, but keep going. Keep growing. Because one day you're going back at this season and you're going to realize it didn't break you. It built you. You're going to realize that the pain gave birth to a version of you that can handle anything, that can inspire others, that can stand tall no matter what. And that's when you'll be grateful for the pain, not because it felt good, but because it gave you everything you needed to become who you were always meant to be. Success is not something that comes to the most talented. It doesn't just belong to the smartest or the ones born into the right family or given the best opportunity. Success belongs to the one who refuses to quit. The person who keeps showing up day after day, long after the excitement wears off. The one who doesn't care if no one's watching, if no one's clapping, if no one believes in them. Because they've decided that they believe in themselves. That's the secret. That's the edge. The will to never give up. Too many people start something with fire in their heart, but the moment it gets tough, they let go. They get discouraged and they walk away. But what they don't realize is that the breakthrough is always on the other side of the breakdown. Most people quit right before they win. They stopped just short of the finish line because the pain got too loud. The obstacles got too heavy, and the dream started to feel too far away. But the ones who make it, the ones who actually get to taste that victory, they're the ones who just wouldn't stop. There is power in persistence, real power. The kind of power that builds momentum, that turns small efforts into big wins over time. When you refuse to quit, you send a message to yourself, to the universe, to your dream, that you're serious. You're not here to play around. You're not just trying this out. You've made a decision. You've locked in, and you will do whatever it takes to get there, even if it takes longer than you hope, even if the road is harder than you expected, because giving up is not an option. When you keep going, even when everything tells you to stop, you're building something far greater than a goal. You're building character. You're building discipline. You're building resilience. You're teaching yourself how to endure, how to overcome, how to become the kind of person who doesn't just start things, but finishes them. And in this world, finishers win, finishers lead, finishers inspire. Not because it was easy, but because they stayed committed even when it wasn't. Think about all the moments you've wanted to quit. The days you felt like nothing was working. The times you wondered if it was even worth it. And yet, here you are. You're still standing. You're still pushing. That says something about you. That means you got what it takes. You just have to keep choosing it again and again. No matter how many times you fall down, you rise. No matter how slow the progress, you keep moving. Because eventually, all that effort compounds. All those small wins add up. And suddenly, you realize you're closer than you thought. Quitting might bring temporary relief, but it always leads to long-term regret. It's easy to walk away. It's easy to say it's not working. But later, you'll look back and wonder what could have been if you had just held on a little longer. That's the thing about perseverance. It may not always feel good in the moment, but it always feels right in the end. Because deep down, you'll know you gave it everything. And there's nothing more satisfying than knowing you didn't let the struggle steal your dream. Every successful person has a story of a moment when they almost quit. A time when they doubted themselves, when they were ready to throw in the towel. But they didn't. They took one more step, and then another. Eventually, the tide turned. That moment is coming for you too. But you have to stay in the fight long enough to reach it. You have to be willing to outlast the pain, outwork the doubt, and outperform the excuses. You may not control everything, but you do control your effort. You control your attitude. You control how many times you show up. And sometimes that's all it takes. Not brilliance, not perfection. Just relentless consistency, showing up when it's hard, showing up when you're tired, showing up when you're scared, showing up when you're scared, showing up until the goal is no longer a dream, it's your reality. Every day you wake up and choose not to quit. You take one step closer to the life you want. You build confidence, you build strength, and you start to realize that maybe the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't as big as it felt. Maybe it's just a few more days of discipline. A few more nights of sacrifice, a few more moments of choosing faith over fear. And if you can keep doing that, there's nothing that can stop you. It's not about being the best, it's about being the most committed. Because when life gets tough, talent fades, intelligence fades, even motivation fades. But discipline and commitment, that's what remains. That's what keeps you grounded. That's what pulls you through when everything else is falling apart. And if you can hold on to that, you will win. It may not happen overnight, but it will happen. Because quitting guarantees failure, but staying in a fight gives you a chance. And sometimes a chance is all you need. So the next time you feel like giving up, remember why you started. Remember who you're doing this for. Remember the fire you had in your belly when you first began, and let that fuel you. Let that remind you that this isn't just about achieving something, it's about becoming someone who refuses to quit, someone who doesn't let circumstances define them, someone who keeps showing up until they cross the finish line. You can have excuses or you can have results, but you can't have both. So drop the excuses, silence the doubt, and commit to the process. Trust that every step you take is bringing you closer, even the hard ones, even the slow ones. Because success doesn't go to the one who had the easiest journey, it goes to the one who never stopped walking. And that can be you if you want it bad enough. If you're willing to keep going, never give up, no matter what. because your future is counting on you. There will always be moments when fear tries to take over, when the path ahead looks uncertain, when the dream seems bigger than you, when failure feels closer than success. That's natural. Fear is a part of every journey worth taking. But what separates those who win from those who walk away is this: the courage to act despite fear. Fear might be present, but it doesn't have to be in control. And that's the heart of it. You don't need to be fearless to win. You just need to move forward even when fear whispers in your ear. Courage isn't loud. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet decision to show up anyway. To take one more step even when your legs are shaking. To speak your truth even when your voice trembles. It's about trusting that what you want is worth the discomfort. And every time you act in the presence of fear, you take away its power. You shift the balance. And slowly fear begins to shrink. Not because it disappears, but because your confidence grows. People often wait until they're not afraid anymore to begin. They tell themselves, when I feel ready, I'll start. When I'm not scared, I'll try. But that day never comes. Because fear doesn't go away on its own. It waits for your courage to rise. Action is the antidote to fear. The longer you wait, the bigger the fear grows in your mind. But the moment you take a step, no matter how small, you start rewriting the narrative. You start proving to yourself that you are stronger than your doubts. Every successful person you admire faced fear. Every champion, every leader, every innovator had a moment when they questioned themselves. But they didn't stop there. They didn't let fear define their actions. They chose to move forward. That's what makes all the difference. You don't have to eliminate fear. You just have to refuse to let it decide your fate. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else matters more. When you push past fear, you open doors that once felt locked. Opportunities begin to show up. Not because they weren't there before, but because you're finally walking in the direction of your growth. Fear is a barrier that stands between you and the life you want. And each time you face it, you tear a piece of that barrier down. Until one day you're standing on the other side, wondering why you ever let fear keep you small. We live in a world that often praises comfort. It teaches us to seek ease, to avoid risk, to stay safe. But nothing worth having comes from comfort zones. Growth lives on the other side of challenge. And fear is the gatekeeper to that growth. If you want more, you have to be willing to lean into the fear, to do the thing that makes your heart race. That's where transformation happens. Not in safety, but in the stretch. In the discomfort. In the moments that make you sweat and second guess, but still move. Every fear you overcome becomes a victory, a brick in the foundation of your strength. And that strength begins to show, not just in how you carry yourself, but in how you speak, how you lead, how you live. You become someone who inspires others, not because you had it easy, but because you had the guts to keep going when it was hard. You become a light in the dark for someone else still trapped in their fear. And that's powerful. Fear wants you to believe that failure is the worst possible outcome. But the truth is, the greatest failure is never trying, never knowing what could have been. Living a life shaped by avoidance, by hesitation, by settling for less. You weren't born to shrink. You were born to rise. And that rise starts when you stop letting fear steer the wheel. When you take back control of your choices. When you say, I might be scared, but I'm doing it anyway. Fear is not your enemy, it's a signal. It tells you that you're standing at the edge of something meaningful, something that matters. And if it matters, it's worth doing even scared. Because those are the moments that redefine you, that stretch your limits, that teach you what you're made of. You can't discover your strength and comfort. You find it in adversity, in those heart-pounding, high-stakes moments when you can quit. But don't. Some people spend their whole lives running from fear. They build walls around themselves trying to stay safe. But the problem is, those same walls also block the view. They shut out the dreams, the possibilities, the freedom. Life isn't meant to be lived in a cage of caution. It's meant to be an adventure. And every adventure starts with a decision to go, even if you're afraid. Especially if you're afraid. You're not here to live a half life. You're here to go all in. And that means betting on yourself even when the odds look uncertain. It means trusting that you have what it takes, even if you haven't seen it yet. Fear will try to convince you that it's protecting you, but really it's just keeping you from becoming who you were meant to be. So acknowledge it, thank it, but don't obey it. Because your purpose is bigger than your fear. You only get one shot at this life, one chance to chase the dream, to write the story, to leave your mark. And you don't want to look back one day and realize that fear held the pen. This is your time, your moment. And even if your hands are shaking, even if your knees are weak, stand up and go. Do the thing. Say yes. Take the leap. Because you can, and you will, and you must. Everyday life presents with a choice. We can either wait for motivation to strike like lightning, or we can create momentum through disciplined action. The truth is, motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. Unpredictable and unreliable. But discipline is consistent. It shows up even when you don't feel like it. It puts in the work when no one's watching. And it gets results when motivation has long disappeared. That's why if you want to succeed, if you want to live out the I can, I must mindset, then discipline must be the engine that drives you forward. Motivation is emotional. It's triggered by a great video, a powerful quote, or a fiery speech. It lifts you up temporarily and makes you believe you're invincible for a moment. But that feeling fades. What do you do when the music stops playing? What do you do when you wake up tired, overwhelmed, or frustrated? That's when discipline steps in. Discipline steps in. Discipline is the voice that says, do it anyway. It's the force that pushes you when your body says no, your mind says later, and the world says quit. And it's in those moments that greatness is built, not in bursts of inspiration, but in quiet, consistent effort. Think about the people you admire, the athletes, the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the change makers. What sets them apart isn't that they were always fired up or endlessly inspired. What sets them apart is that they trained when they were tired, studied when it was boring, and showed up when others stayed home. That's discipline. They made a habit out of excellence, not because it was always exciting, but because they were committed. They didn't rely on how they felt. They relied on who they decided to be. You have goals. You have dreams. But without discipline, they remain distant hopes. Discipline bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's the daily grind, the small choices, the uncomfortable steps that add up over time. You don't build a legacy overnight. You build it rep by rep, day by day, with relentless commitment to the process. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent, falling down and getting back up. Skipping excuses and showing up for yourself. Even on the worst days, you'll have days when the bed feels too warm, when the gym feels too far, when the task feels too heavy. You'll feel like quitting, and that's normal, but that's also the test. Can you keep your promise to yourself when no one else is looking? Can you hold yourself accountable when it's inconvenient? That's discipline. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. It transforms goals into achievements, intentions into actions, and potential into reality. Some people think discipline is restrictive, that it's about saying no to fun or forcing yourself into misery. But discipline isn't about punishment. It's about freedom. The freedom to control your future. The freedom to be who you say you want to be. When you're disciplined, you don't depend on external factors to guide you. You become your own compass. You move with purpose. You act with intention. You gain confidence, not just because of what you accomplish, but because of who you become through the process. Discipline strengthens your character. It teaches you resilience. It shows you that you're capable of more than you thought. Every time you push through resistance, you're reinforcing your identity. You're becoming someone who doesn't quit, someone who finishes, someone who follows through. That kind of self-trust is priceless. It bleeds into every area of life, from your career to your relationships to your health. When you know you can count on yourself, you move through life with a different kind of power. There will be people who doubt you, people who question your drive, your dreams, your decisions. But if you have discipline, you won't need their approval because you'll have evidence, you'll have results, and you'll have the unshakable knowledge that you earned it. That's what discipline gives you. Ownership. You're not wishing anymore. You're working. You're not hoping. You're executing. And that makes all the difference. Every morning you get a chance to choose the easy path or the growth path. Discipline chooses growth. It wakes up early. It stays focused. It says no to distractions and yes to progress. It doesn't need praise, applause, or a perfect environment. It just needs commitment. And when you're stacking up disciplined days together, the world starts to notice. Opportunities come. Momentum builds. Success compounds. Not because you got lucky, but because you put in the work brick by brick. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to do it. That's the mantra of the discipline. You train even when you're sore. You study even when you're tired. You show up even when you'd rather stay home, because you've decided that your future matters more than your comfort. And that decision, repeated day after day, is what takes you from average to elite, from dreaming to achieving. There's power in consistency in getting 1% better each day, in building habits that serve your higher self. That's what discipline does. It shifts your identity. It turns out into I am. And once you believe that, once you internalize the mindset of someone who does the work regardless of feeling, there's nothing you can't achieve. That's when I must becomes your reality. Not because it sounds good, but because you've earned every word through disciplined action. So the next time you feel unmotivated, the next time you feel stuck or unsure, remember this: discipline will carry you when motivation fails. It will be your backbone when inspiration fades. It will be your engine when everything else runs out. Build it, trust it, live it. Because the discipline don't just wish, they win.